Alright, so I put my pulley back on and got the pulley in what I think is the right position on the shaft, and I've got no tension in the belt right now because I haven't tightened this bolt yet, which is what adds the tension to that, because I don't even have this on correctly yet. So now that I see roughly what position that's going to be in, I can decide how I want to distribute these washers, and I guess I'll do that now. Wow, tell you what, I thought I had this pulley tightened, and I just happened to find out that it was sliding back and forth like nothing. Now the reason why I thought it was tight was because I tightened that set screw down all the way, or so I thought. So I took it off and examined it and found out that the little grub screw that was in there wasn't even coming out far enough and pushing on the key stock, and it was just stopping dead. So there was a problem with the threads. So what I did was I chased the threads with a tap, but this pulley is so, that hole is so deep that if it weren't for the fact that I lucked out and happened to have an extra long shafted tap that correct size, I don't think I'd be able to take care of that problem. So kind of lucked out there. Guess it pays off to buy all of those weird taps, huh? So right there my alignment doesn't look very impressive, and I'm still not going to really know. I've got to get this thing running and see where the belt wants to sit. Basically it's going to want that top pulley, which is made out of that pressed paper or something type of material. It's a Browning pulley, but it's made out of some kind of weird material. At first I thought it was wood, but it actually looks like it's almost like laminated paper that's glued up and compressed and clamped together by two metal discs. I think that's going to be the pulley that probably has a little bit of a crown to it maybe, and when the belt's running it should want to kind of sit generally in one spot, and then if that lines up with the pulley down below, then I'll know I've got good alignment. If not, then I'll have to play around with the shifting that box over a little more or a little further back. I can also slide that pulley in and out on the shaft a little bit too. So I guess next step is get the motor on there. Well, it's a good thing I've got room to walk behind the lathe, like I was talking about, that I couldn't get it closer to the wall. It's a good thing I can walk behind it, because it's making it a lot easier to get this motor and everything put in. The back of the motor, the electrical control box on the motor, is almost right up against the wall, so I can't even get the screwdriver in there to put the cover screws on. But I've actually got the wiring not I don't have it wired for 220, and I've just got it pigtailed on there like I did on the bench, because I just want to do some test runs to see how things act, see how much vibration there is, that kind of thing. Because I'm still debating whether or not I'm going to want to put maybe some rubber isolation type of feet on that metal base. That motor is screwed down to an adapter plate that's just an aluminum plate. The aluminum plate has 4 holes through it, and then the cast steel plate that's sitting on actually has threaded tapped holes in it. So it just bolts right down to that. So if that gets the slightest bit loose, it's going to have some vibration there. So so what I got to do now is I got to find that pulley. As far as my problem with the wobble on the pulley, I am going to use that homemade sleeve that was on there causing the wobble. I'm going to use that just for now. I was going to order new sleeves. Dayton makes a sleeve. For some reason they sell them in 3-packs, so oddly enough you tend to find them in 3-packs. So I would end up buying 3 and only using 1, and then I'd have 2 left over, which I guess I could resell, but it's almost not even worth it. You know, take a while probably for them to sell. And also I was looking online, and on eBay, new old stock is the best way to buy something like that, it turns out. So I found somebody on eBay that had them, and I think I could get them for like $8 plus maybe like another 5 shipping or something like that. I don't remember exactly. Or I could go to Granger, and I think Granger might sell the singles, or either that or they're just calling it quantity of one and that there's 3 in the bag. But Granger only wants $11 and change for them, but the 2 Grangers that are anywhere near me do not stock them. I checked with several motor places around the city and a bearing place, and the bearing guy at the bearing place, he says, oh, he remembers when they used to have assortments of these, that he would just go over to the drawer and pick out what size you needed. But that being said, I was troubled by the fact that I did see some notations about that these aren't supposed to be used with certain types of pulleys. And I wasn't sure whether or not they were talking about the type of pulley that I've got here. So I cleaned up this pulley, and this pulley is a Browning pulley, a model 2T B44. Well, it turns out this is a very common pulley used in the HVAC and I guess industrial drive component industry. So what they tend to do, it was kind of like a modular thing where you bought the pulley size you needed, and then you bought this bushing part right here, and this was made available in several different motor shaft sizes. So you bought this for whatever your motor shaft size was. So basically what I could do is if I buy this in 7/8 instead of 1 inch, that would be best. Turns out this series that fits this sheave is called I think the P1 series, and sure enough, right on here it says P1-1, which means it's a P1 series 1 inch. So I could buy a P1-7/8, solve my problem. Well, I've got a Johnstone Supply catalog, which is a major HVAC manufacturer, distributor, parts distributor, and they list these, and this sells for like $55 or $60 in their listing. So it's an expensive little thing, and the pulley, forget about the pulley's big bucks. Anyways, beauty is, once again, eBay to the rescue, new old stock. I was poking around on there this morning, just taking a quick look, and I think I found for like $16 shipped, I think I found a new old stock, one of these, in 7/8. So I'm going to order that and get rid of this altogether. And I think that's going to give me the best solid setup. And it's kind of ironic that when I think about it, that I'm doing that, and yet I'm already second guessing myself, because I really don't know whether or not this pulley to the other pulley that was on there is even the optimum ratio that I want for this particular setup. But you know, we'll run it and we'll see how it acts. You know, if it seems like I want to get more speed out of it, then I'm going to have to look at maybe changing those pulleys anyways. Or if I'm getting too much speed out of it for those phosphorus bronze bearings. Well, alright, we can always slow it down with the gearbox. I think the bigger issue will be if I can't get the max speed out of it that I want. And actually I'm limited again by those phosphorus bronze bearings anyways. So, alright, let me go see if I can fish out that pulley. I'm hoping I didn't leave it outside in the Alpine tent. You know, when I remember when I was originally taking this pulley off of the gearbox out there last year, that video, one of my regular viewers, he hasn't commented in a while, so I'm not sure, maybe he found better things to do with his life, but I think it might have been Robert had, I think, might have been, I apologize if I'm confusing, getting people mixed up, but he had explained that these were very common in the industry. I think he might have even suggested the HVAC industry, and I could see why these pulleys are so expensive. I believe these are cast, and then of course they're machined, and to make things even more interesting, there's this series of holes right here that are drilled. They start right here and they go over to here, And those holes are actually drilled on purpose, and they actually act to balance the pulley. So these pulleys are precision balanced, I guess, before they leave the factory. So that's going to help with vibration. As far as what these are used for, the only time I can think of even seeing a pulley like this or something close to this would be on an old air compressor. So I'm wondering whether or not these pulleys are used in the HV industry on commercial compressors, like maybe in a I don't know if they still use them, but maybe an ammonia refrigeration system or something like that. I'm not in the trade, so I don't know. I'm just, based on some of the things I've seen. I wish I could clean that better. For one thing, I should stop using that really oily rag, which is a sock. Let's mount this pig. Alright, this side is the easiest side to get to this pulley setup, and the workbench is a little bit in the way, but this is just a temporary setup here. So this inner bushing is key to the shaft. It's a tight fit. So the way this works is this inner bushing pushes onto the shaft. It's got a split in it, and it's tapered. And what happens is when you bring this outer pulley up, it's also, this outer pulley is key to this also. You bring this up onto this, you put in 3 bolts, and you tighten the bolts. That pulls this pulley up the taper, which squeezes that split closed and tightens this whole pulley around the shaft. So you got to keep this back off until you get this on. But that sucker, still got a ways to go. I'm not crazy about the idea of me banging on the end of this shaft into the gearbox, but that's about flush right there. Should be able to use the pulling action of tightening these bolts to actually pull this on. I don't know if I don't think this is supposed to be, this gap is supposed to be completely closed up, or is it? Tighten one up, 2, and then I go back to the 3rd one, and it goes a little tighter, and so I just got to kind of keep sequentially, I guess, working around. My concern is that if these don't get tightened up, if this doesn't close up completely and bottom out, what's to keep one of these from pulling a little bit harder than the other and causing this to be out of balance? Well, I say that, but now that I look at it, how I should run, it's sure the heck. Well, that looks dead nuts on. That's pretty tight right there. I don't think I could tighten that any further in if I wanted to. The key stock is sticking out just a little bit proud of that. I wonder if that's actually an issue. Let's see if I can get a punch and tap that in. I wonder if I should loosen that back up before I try and slide this, before I try and get this keyway to move. Let me give it a little tap and see. It's going. Alright. See if that changes anything as far as this goes. Nope, that's still tight. 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 That must be it. It must not. It must just. You must just tighten this down until it's tight, and that must be it. Alrighty. Throw my cheesy homemade sleeve. I didn't make it. Oh, by the way, I didn't bother filming it, but I did attempt to make another sleeve. I thought, oh, maybe I could do a better job. I couldn't. Failed miserably, so, you know, used bushing. Looks like it goes for about 12 to 15 bucks on eBay. So, not much more than the new old stock ones that I saw. So in actuality, if I get that new old stock bushing and replace this one, I can actually turn right around and put this one up on eBay and help somebody out maybe who needs a 1-inch bushing. Alright, let's see. Come on, you stinker. Tell me I'm going to slide this on it. Slips out of position. Oh, you know what I can do? I can put the key stock in there. Oh, that's not going to work. Alright. Let's try. Put the pulley on. The key stock. Started. There we go. And I'll just tap this dumb thing home. Take care of that. Get my 3 bolts. Tighten that up. Find me the belts. Throw them on. Hey, might see that gearbox run in a few minutes. Alright, apparently I didn't start the camera when I just put that on, but I just basically the same procedure as I did the other one. That one I noticed that the inside bushing clamps in a lot further on the pulley, but I'm attributing that to the fact that there's that stupid little homemade sleeve in there. It's probably not quite large enough. So it has to, that bushing has to pull into the pulley further to close down and clamp on that shaft. Alright, so here are the belts that I took off of this thing originally, and I fished them out of the tent the other day and looked at them and realized, much to my dismay, I may have noticed this when I was taking them off, but they don't match. One looks newer than the other. I actually thought one was a different size than the other, but now I'm thinking, no, I think they are the right. I think they are matching size. They're just, one of them looks kind of long in the tooth compared to the other one. Alright, so what determines belt tension, you may ask? Well, nearest I can ascertain is that this whole plate right here is able to move in and out on a rod, and that rod must have some sort of, yeah, there is a bolt on the back here with a locking screw, and that's going to be what adjusts this. So if I turn this bolt out, it's actually moving this whole plate forward. I don't think I've got enough room to get a socket back there, but if I get the right size gear wrench, I think I can make this job a lot more pleasant. The open end is going on. Why isn't that bolt head's damaged? Alright, well, it is moving. I know what's going to happen. I'm going to have to move this like crazy to get it to go on like that. And then, of course, Once I get it on, it's going to be way too loose. I'm going to have to move it back. Man, that belt is really got some issues. Belt number 2, this one is in much better condition. Maybe those aren't the same size. Either that or putting it on the small pulley first and then doing this end was the better way to do this. Yeah, I don't like what's going on with this wrench. Let me see if I can get another wrench to fit on there. Alright, I just tightened the slack on these belts, and it's funny, this belt is riding higher out of the V-grooves than this belt, so the width of these belts is different. Either that or this belt is just so badly worn, sits deeper in the pulley, so the tension's decent on them. Should actually work. Man, this belt is much looser than this belt. These belts are not a match. And sighting down this, yeah, I don't like the way this alignment looks either. It's getting late. I'm going to have to call it quits tonight.